Hello, my dear children. Greetings for the day. Children, in the class today, we'll come to know Lorentz force, complete Lorentz force, and we'll study one of its very popular application. Besides that, we'll study domain theory of ferromagnetism. So let's move on to Lorentz force. Well, children, we have already studied Lorentz electric force. Lorentz electric force acts over charged particle in electric field. We also studied Lorentz magnetic force, which is force acting over moving charge in magnetic field. Well, what is Lorentz force? Lorentz force is force acting over charged particle in electromagnetic field. Electromagnetic field is a field where both electric field and magnetic field are simultaneously present. So when a charged particle moves through an electromagnetic field, it is acted upon by both electric field as well as magnetic field. And because of electric and magnetic field, it is acted upon by Lorentz electric force as well as Lorentz magnetic force. And algebraic sum of both the forces is the net force acting over the charged particle. And this net force is what is called as Lorentz force. So what is Lorentz force? Fe plus Fm. Fe is Qe and Fm is what? Q times V cross B. And if we add the two, this Q comes out common, and we get the value of force as F is equal to Q times E vector plus V cross B vector. Remember, this is force in electromagnetic field. Well, let us study one of its application, and that application is in cross field. What is cross field? Cross field is an electromagnetic field where electric field and magnetic field both are present and they are what? Perpendicular to each other. So cross field is field where we have electric field as well as magnetic field and both are perpendicular to each other. Well, the region is here. This is the diagram for cross field. These are two horizontal plates. This one and this one are two horizontal plates. The upper plate is connected with positive terminal of the battery. The lower plate is connected with negative terminal of the battery. That way, what happens? An electric field is set up, and that electric field is in this direction, say vertically downward. If the plates are horizontal, the electric field is in vertically downward direction. And right here in the space we have magnetic field, and magnetic field is perpendicular inward into the plane of the board. Cross is the magnetic field. Now this arrangement is used as velocity selector. We have charged particle producing the charges of variable speed. So what do we do? With the help of this cross field, we are able to select the particles with certain fixed value of speed. Well, this is the region of cross field. This is the slit here, and right in front of this we have another slit. So in between these two slits, we have the region of cross field. This is source of charged particles, and this source produces the charged particle with variable speed. Suppose the source of proton or source of alpha particles. So these alpha particles are of different velocities, and how to select or separate out the particles with fixed speed, certain constant speed. For that we use this region. We let the charged particle enter through this slit S1, and what happens? As the charged particle passes through this slit into this region, it is acted upon by electric force as well as magnetic force. Well, if the charged particle is Q, it would be acted upon by electric force where? In the direction of electric field, and that is what? Is in vertically downward direction. And magnetic force acting over the charged particle would be found out by Fleming's left hand rule. And what is that force? Magnetic field is cross, velocity is right, therefore thumb is where? Up. So this is the direction of magnetic force. Let us see this direction of magnetic force once again. This is magnetic field, mother, father, child rule, you are familiar with. Well, this is magnetic field, this is velocity, this is thumb. So magnetic field is cross, the velocity is towards right, and the thumb is in this direction, upward. So we can see here electric force and magnetic force both act over the charged particle and both are anti-parallel. Both are anti-parallel. The direction of cross fields are taken such that both the forces are anti-parallel. Well, if over any charged particle magnetic force happens to be greater, then what happens? The charged particle is deflected in the direction of magnetic field like this. In this direction where there is net force along vertically upward direction. If the charged particle has electric force greater than magnetic force, that charged particle moves in the downward direction like this. The charged particles which are deflected down are those particles for which electric force is greater than magnetic force. But those particles which move straight across this slit are those particles over which magnetic force and electric force are what? Equal to each other. Magnetic force is BQV, electric force is QE, and you can see that Q cancels out. What do we get? VS. We get VS E upon V. So out of this slit number 2, only those particles come out whose speed is the ratio of the value of electric field and value of magnetic field. E is to B. So whichever particle has speed as ratio of E is to B, only those particles come out. Okay children, let us now discuss domain theory of ferromagnetism. This theory explains the behavior of a ferromagnetic substance in magnetizing field. We have already studied that behavior. We have studied BH curve for a ferromagnetic substance. As we increase H, the value of magnetic field inside the substance increases, then it decreases like this. This is the behavior. That's how the magnetic field B and H are related to each other for a ferromagnetic substance. So how is this behavior explained? That behavior is explained with the help of domain theory. Every ferromagnetic substance is assumed to be made up of large number of very tiny regions called domains. So this is a ferromagnetic substance. It is made up of very tiny regions, very tiny kingdoms, and these kingdoms are called as domains. Well, in every domain there is a fixed magnetic dipole moment in a particular direction. These are the domains. Every domain has a fixed magnetic dipole moment in a particular direction. That particular direction may be any. So how is this that the dipole moments are in a particular direction in every domain? Well, we know that a ferromagnetic substance is made up of infinite number of atomic magnets, and these atomic magnets are because of the revolution of electron around nucleus in circular orbits. And in every domain, all atomic dipoles are in the direction of the magnetic dipole moment of the domain. If in this domain magnetic dipole moments, net dipole moment is in this direction, this is simply because all atomic dipoles have their dipole moments in this direction. So in every domain, the atomic dipoles are all parallel to each other in their dipole moments, and net dipole moment is of course in the same direction. So an ordinary piece of iron, we know, doesn't behave like a magnet until unless it is placed into magnetic field. Why? Because all these domains normally remains randomly and haphazardly distributed. Therefore, net dipole moment of the whole substance remains zero. But once this substance is placed in magnetizing field, what happens? The domains start rotating in the direction of external field, or the size of the favorable domain increases. So if this is a substance placed in external magnetic field, say these are the domains of the substance, what happens? The domains of this is the magnetizing field. So what happens? Either the domains rotate or the size of the favorable domain increases. Now, if this happens to be external magnetizing field, and we know that a magnetic dipole is in stable equilibrium when its dipole moment is parallel to external field. So all the dipoles, all the domains they try to rotate and align themselves in the direction of external field in order of their angle from field. The dipoles, the domains whose dipole moment is making a very small angle with magnetizing field, they first rotate and align themselves in the direction of H. Thereafter, the others. So, in order of their angle from field, in order of angle of their dipole moments from field, they rotate one after another. And when all domains rotate and align themselves in the direction of external field, well, the substance reaches where? Saturation state. Now, beyond this, if we increase H, the value of magnetic induction in the substance no more increases. Now, if we decrease the value of H, what happens? All the domains do not rotate back to their original orientations. That is why we have some magnetic induction left in the substance. And if we wish to make this magnetic induction zero, we need to apply magnetizing field in opposite direction. This is the magnetizing field in opposite direction, and when this magnetizing field is applied, all the domains get back to their original orientation. And if we increase the magnetizing field in opposite direction, then the same thing is repeated in the opposite direction. Well, we can also explain it by the change of the size of the ferrovial domain. If this is your magnetizing field and this is the substance placed in the magnetizing field, ferromagnetic substance, what happens? These are the domains of the ferromagnetic substance. Now, whichever domain has dipole moment, parallel to magnetizing field, that domain is called as favorable domain. So, which one is favorable domain? The domain where dipole moment is parallel to magnetizing field is called favorable domain. And what happens? The size of this favorable domain increases as we increase the value of H. And once all the domains merge with this, the size of favorable domain, what happens? Throughout the block, we have a single domain, and that domain has dipole moment parallel to external magnetizing field. That is what is saturation state. And if we decrease the value of H and make it zero, even then all domains do not acquire their original orientations. As the result, we have retained magnetic induction, and so as to bring all these dipoles to their original orientation, we need to apply magnetizing field in opposite direction. And if we increase the magnetizing field in opposite direction, well, the same thing happens. The size of the ferrovial domain in opposite direction increases, and finally occupies the whole ferromagnetic substance. So this domain theory explains the ferromagnetism, the behavior of a ferromagnetic substance in magnetizing field. So with this we come to the end of today's class. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.